The diplomatic chamber fell silent as the crystalline doors shattered inward. Through the glittering fragments stumbled a creature that made even the battle-hardened Krathguards step back in horror. Queen's Grizzly. Susan had heard stories about these beasts since arriving at the Galactic Council station 3 months ago. Native to the royal worlds of Zotha, Grizzlies stood 12 feet tall, possessed 6 limbs tipped with claws that could shred battle armor, and had mandibles capable of crushing. They were loyal only to the Zothar queens, and their reputation for violence was legendary. Across 70 star systems, this one was dying. Purple blood pooled beneath its massive frame as it collapsed onto the polished floor. Its breathing came in ragged, whistling gasps. One of its 6 eyes had been burned away, and deep plasma wounds scored its thick, scaled hide. Behind it, somewhere in the station's corridors, an assassination attempt had clearly gone wrong, or perhaps to right. Seal the chamber. Ambassador Krelix's voice cracked across 3 frequencies. That beast is compromised. It could rampage at any moment. The other delegates scattered like startled birds, their various limbs, wings, and tentacles carrying them toward the emergency exits. Even the Krathguards, bred for combat, maintained their distance. We should eliminate it, one guard hissed, plasma rifle charging. A wounded grizzly is unpredictable. It's a mercy. Susan watched the creature's chest heave. Its remaining eyes, wild, golden, and filled with pain, swept the room before landing on her. She saw something there that transcended species, something that reached across the vast gulf of evolution. Fear, and a desperate plea. No, Susan said quietly. Dr. Chen, step away from it, Ambassador Krelix commanded. His translator implant made his words sharp, mechanical. You don't understand what you're dealing with. No species goes near a grizzly except its bonded queen. They've killed trained handlers who merely tried to feed them. What you're contemplating is suicide. Susan was already moving. She grabbed her medical kit from where it had fallen during the panic and walked toward the creature with steady steps. Behind her, Evan's voice called out, Susan, wait. But she didn't wait. She'd seen enough death on the colony raids, enough suffering in the war zones where she'd served before taking this diplomatic post. And she'd learned something that these galactic species, for all their advanced technology and ancient civilizations, seemed to have forgotten. Pain was universal, and compassion should be too. The grizzly's head swung toward her as she approached, mandibles spreading in what every instinct screamed was a threat display. A low rumble emanated from deep in its chest, a sound that made the air vibrate. Easy, Susan murmured, raising her empty hand. I'm here to help. She knelt in the spreading pool of purple blood, close enough now to smell the creature's acrid centozone and copper and something else, something almost like cinnamon. The grizzly's claws flexed, scraping against the floor. Dr. Chen, you have 5 seconds to retreat before I order the guards to fire, Krelix announced. Susan ignored him. She opened her kit and pulled out the multi-species coagulant she'd developed during her time on the frontier worlds. Her hands didn't shake as she prepared the injector. This is going to sting, she told the grizzly, as if it could understand. Maybe it could. Intelligence flickered in those golden eyes. The creature's nearest forelimb shot out, and for a heartbeat, every being in the chamber thought they were about to witness a human torn apart. But the claws stopped inches from Susan's throat, trembling in the air. She met the grizzly's gaze steadily. I know you're scared. I know it hurts, but I'm not here to harm you. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, the claws retracted. The limb lowered. Susan got to work. She'd treated plasma burns before, though never on a creature this size. She injected the coagulant at 6 points around the worst wounds, watching as the alien blood began to clot. The grizzly shuddered but didn't pull away. She used synthetic tissue patches designed for Krath soldiers. Their biochemistry was close enough. She worked methodically, treating each wound, whispering reassurances that probably meant nothing but somehow seemed to matter. Behind you, Evan's warning came as another shape burst through the doors. This one wore the ornate battle armor of the Zothar Royal Guard, but its weapon was raised, pointed not at the grizzly but at Susan. Step away from the Queen's companion, the newcomer commanded in the melodious language of the Zoth. The traitors have poisoned it. It must be put down. Before the grizzly moved with shocking speed for something so gravely wounded. It rose on 4 limbs, placing its bulk between Susan and the new arrival, and released a roar that shook dust from the ceiling panels. Wait. Susan stood, positioning herself where both could see her. It's not poisoned. These are plasma wounds. Assassination attempt, not poisoning. The Zothar guard's weapon lowered slightly. You treated it. A human touched the Queen's companion. It needed help, Susan said simply. I'm a doctor, but The guard's translator struggled with the next words. But no species dares approach a wounded grizzly. They're too dangerous, too unpredictable. Even my people keep our distance. How did you? Susan glanced at the massive creature beside her. It had lowered its head until one of its eyes was level with hers, and in that golden iris, she saw something that transcended fear. Trust. I just did what anyone should do, she said. I saw someone suffering, and I helped. Later, after the Queen herself had arrived, after Susan had been offered honors she politely declined. After Evan had stopped his relieved scolding, the story spread through the Galactic Council like wildfire. The human who did the unthinkable. The human who showed compassion where logic demanded distance. The human who proved that bravery wasn't about fearlessness, but about acting despite fear. Ambassador Krelix found Susan in the observation deck, staring at the stars. What you did today, he said carefully, will be remembered. The Zotha have declared you friend of the throne. Do you understand how unprecedented that is? Susan smiled slightly. I just treated a patient. No, the ambassador corrected. You reminded us all that humanity brings something to this council that we'd forgotten we needed. Not just your technology or your resilience, but your irrational, beautiful, utterly human tendency to help those who everyone else has deemed beyond helping. Susan thought about that for a moment, then turned back to the stars. Somewhere on this station, a grizzly was recovering. Somewhere, because one human refused to let fear dictate action. A bond had formed between species. Maybe, she thought, that's what humanity's real gift to the galaxy would be. Not that they were fearless, but that they cared enough to be brave. And sometimes, that made all the difference.